Okay, Mod 3 is primarily fractions. And today we looked at how to make equivalent. Okay, on this question here, number 1 was already done for us. So it says use a folded paper, and we did this in class, in order to make force. Well, when you did your folded paper, you should end up one at the beginning, one at the end, and then you would have had 3 lines that you had to draw in order to get force. And when we skip counted them, we'd be 0 force, 1 fourth, 2 force, 3 force, and 4 force. And we look at it, 0 force equals 0, 1 fourth is 1 fourth, 2 force is actually 1/2, then we have 3 force, and 4 force, which is equal to 1 whole. Now it says that we're looking at force. Use folded paper to mark 0, 1 above. Follow the pattern as problem 1, but with force. Okay, so it says we're going to be working with force. So I'm going to go ahead and split up my model into force. And I'm going to shade in 1 fourth. And that's what we have here, is 1 fourth. Now, I'm going to split this one in 2 horizontally. And that's the same thing as saying I'm multiplying by 2 over 2. Now, 2 over 2 is another way of writing 1 whole. And anytime we multiply something by 1, we get the same exact number. Now, if you notice, we started out 1 fourth, but now that we've split up our model, you can see we have 2 shaded, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts of the whole. And 1 fourth times 1/2, 2 over 2, which is 1 whole, equals 2/8. So we know 1 fourth and 2/8 are equal to each other, so they're equivalent fractions. On the next one, let's go ahead and split up our force. We're shading in 1 fourth. And this time, instead of 1, I'm going to split it up into 2 sections. So I'm going 1 fourth times, we see we split it up into 3 sections, so it's 3/3. And you can see we have 3 shaded out of a total of 12. On the next one, we're going to do our force, and we're shading in our 1 fourth. This time, instead of thirds, I'm going to do fourths. 1, that's 2, that's 3, and that'd be 4. So we can show we had 1 fourth times, we split it into 4 sections, so it'll be 4 fourths. And if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 shaded out of a total of 16. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, if you look at the standard algorithm down below, we see we can have the numerators, which is 1 times 4 is 4, and the denominators, which is 4 times 4 is 16. So this is the model for it, and this is how we're doing it with numbers. You can see how they correspond. Our last one, we're going to split it into fourths. I'm shading in 1 fourth. And instead of fourths, I'm going to split them into fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have 1 fourth times, we split them into 5 sections, so that's 5 fifths equals 5 20ths, because I had 1 times 5 is 5, 4 times 5 is 20. And if I count them, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shaded, which correspond to our numerator, and a total of 20 overall for 5 20ths. Now, number 4 says, continue the process and model 2 equivalent fractions using 9/8. Now, if I was going to break this up into 8s, and I'm going to shorten it just a little bit, and 1/2, that's fourths, there's 8s. That'd be 0, 8, 1 8, 2 8, 3 8s, 4 8s, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. So 8/8 would be 1 whole. And this is 0/8 is 0. And we already know that 4/8 would be 1/2. Now, but the problem says 9/8. So if I had to come out another one here, that'd be 1 1/8, or down here would be 9/8. Now it says estimate to mark the points on the number line, and we did that. Now, we want to make an equivalent fraction. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up into 8s. It's going to be a little difficult. There's 4. And there's 8 sections. The second one, we're going to split up into 8. There's 4. And there's 8. And I'm going to shade in this one here. Since it's 8/8, I would shade in the whole first square. Then I'm going to shade in one more. So now we have 9/8 shaded in. So I have 9/8 times, let's say I split them into 2. So 2/2. 9 times 2 is 18. 8 times 2 is 16. Now let's check it out. Now I know we had 8 times 2, so there'd be 16 in this block. And we can see 2 more here, which gives us 18. Now we're going 2 by 8 for the block, so that's why it's 16. So 9/8 is equivalent to 18/16. Now let's come back over here again. And let's try splitting it up into 8s again. And this one here into 8s. Okay, and this one, once again, we would end up shading in a whole first block, because this first block represents 8/8, or one whole block. And then we need one more 8 out of this block. So now we have 9/8 times, and let's split them into thirds this time. So times 3/3, which would give me 27/24. Now let's see, we know this is 8 across, and we have 3 on the side. That's going to give us 24 blocks for this area. And over here we have 3 more that are shaded, so that gives us 27. And 3 times 8 is 24. So 27/24 would be equal to 9/8.